So with the college football playoffs basically being over and only the championship game left, and now in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, we have a few more picks set in place. I think it's 1 through 20 at this point that should be secured. I know that PFF has the picks at the lower end a bit miscued because 21 through 24 should be the teams that lost this past weekend, but we'll leave it as is with that. But we're going to talk about this number 1 pick with the Tennessee Titans. A lot of things could transpire with this. The Titans are just in a particular situation with this pick that they have a few glaring needs, but their top need is definitely right tackle. While QB is definitely a scenario, and especially being in the position of the number 1 pick that could give them that opportunity right now, I still think right tackle should be something that they look at. They could possibly trade down, get some value out of this pick, maybe to a team like the Raiders or the Jets, who could be in a desperate situation if they don't get Aaron Rodgers back or somebody in free agency. At the 7th pick, they're probably not going to be able to get any QB unless they take Jackson Dart super high, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on. But in this position right now, I can't see them taking tackle number 1, obviously. But if they were to trade down to the 6 or 7 spot, I could definitely see them taking a Will Campbell, Josh Simmons possibly, and move on from there and put them at the right tackle spot. Maybe even Kelvin Banks, but I think more Will Campbell would be their preference as to the tackle market. But at this position right now, I am going to have Cam Ward being the first quarterback off the board, which in the previous one was also the same. But in most of the draft circles and the scouting circles, they tend to like Cam Ward a lot more than Shedeur at the number 1 spot. And in terms of him just being able to have the poise in the pocket that he has, he played in a rough ACC conference this year that he still performed very well in. He's able to make the big plays that you need him to. I think that he's able to bring something to this Titans team that they haven't had, although Will Levis does have 2 years left on his contract, which is something to keep in mind in terms of this Titans pick. They might try to stick it out, get that right tackle. If Will Levis still doesn't perform, they get a QB in the following drafts, if it's Archie Manning or Drew Allar, who is now going back to college. But for right now, we're going to go Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans. And the second overall pick, I mean, the Browns are now dealing with another torn Achilles to Deshaun Watson, which is unfortunate for Deshaun Watson in his career as a player. I don't really care about him as a person, but he did tear his Achilles again. Still stuck under contract, so they can't really do much about that necessarily. They are in another situation as well with Myles Garrett, who isn't really liking the trajectory of this team right now and where they're going in terms of winning. It leaves Abdul Carter to be able to come in and do something with that. I don't know if they take Abdul Carter over Travis Hunter, though. I don't know. I think Travis Hunter is still the pick at this spot for the Cleveland Browns. I can't see it going another way unless the Titans could possibly take Abdul Carter at the number 1 spot if they really wanted to. But Abdul Carter performed very well this season. I mean, he just kept getting better and better and better. He still performed well in the loss in the college football playoffs. But as of right now, I'm still going to stick with Travis Hunter because they're lacking a lot of talent in the Cleveland Browns because Nick Chubb is basically on the downfall of his career, unfortunately. Jerry Jeudy is their number 1 option. I really think that they need to start looking at what Travis Hunter can do. And I know that some of you are going to scrutinize me about, oh, we don't know if Travis Hunter is going to be able to play on both sides of the ball. He probably won't even do it, da-da-da-da-da. But he showed his ability to do it in terms of health-wise. I think he would be able to do it if Kevin Stefanski does it correctly. And I think if any coach is going to be able to do it, it is Stefanski with the Cleveland Browns. But moving on to the Giants, this is basically a clear pick, to be honest with you. As I've said previously, I don't like these QBs going in the top 5. I really think that some other players deserve to be in the top 5 rather than the talent that these QBs are. I love Cam Ward, but I don't know if he's a number 1 pick. I think he's a top 5 pick, maybe a 5th pick, but I wouldn't have him going number 1 in, say, last year's draft. That's just not happening. But Shedeur Sanders, I mean, is really the clear pick for the Giants at this point. They are probably not going to try to go with QB in free agency, but if they do, I would not be opposed to it, because then that would leave a spot to possibly get somebody like Abdul Carter to add to that defense, even though they don't really need it. Tatario McMillan, Travis Hunter could possibly be a situation if the Browns go QB, because that is also something that they could do. Both of these teams at the 2 and 3 spot are definitely going to be looking at free agency for quarterback. The Browns don't really have a choice but to look, because their quarterbacks just straight up suck behind Deshaun Watson and even with Deshaun Watson. But as of right now, I am going to have the New York Giants taking Shedeur Sanders, pairing him up with Malik Neighbors. Although I don't really like the 3rd overall pick being Shedeur, I still think that he has a lot of possibilities to be a good quarterback, maybe above average quarterback, maybe even a star with Malik Neighbors at wide receiver 1. And the New England Patriots, I am going to go with a different trajectory right now, because as much as offensive line is a need for the Patriots, I could see the Patriots looking anywhere on the offensive side of the ball in general to try to help Drake May. They got a new coach with Mike Vrabel. That's finally official. But to help Drake May out, I think that Mike Vrabel might see Tatario McMillan and think that this is a perfect scenario for the future of Drake May and Tatario McMillan. And they could possibly look in free agency as well for the tackle position. I don't know how justifiable that's going to be. But T-Mac is a very viable pick at the spot. It's basically best player available for the Patriots. Putting him with Drake May could help this offense, even with the offensive line still needing the help that it needs to have. But I think that could be addressed in future drafts if need be. I think Drake May still has the capability to get around that hindrance on the offensive side of the ball. But Tatario McMillan I will have going to the New England Patriots. As the Jacksonville Jaguars, I still think that defensive interior is the best case scenario for them. Josh Allen, or Josh Hines Allen, and Trayvon Walker are great pieces off the edge. Getting that interior spot with Mason Graham being the game wrecker that he is, I just can't see another scenario for the Jaguars as of right now. Mason Graham would bring a lot of talent to that team. And the Raiders, I am also going to have going best player available. And with the Raiders being in the spot with no trades at all the QBs off the board that would be worth it as of right now. And like I said previously, Jackson Dart could possibly get into the mix like Jaden Daniels did towards the draft season last year and ended up panning out. Jackson Dart has the possibility to do so because he did have a great season with Ole Miss. I think he has the possibility of being a great quarterback in the league if put in the right scenario. Now, the Raiders are probably hoping that he ends up staying at that 2nd round draft grade, maybe 3rd round draft grade, and they're able to get him to the top of the 2nd because he could be a round 1 talent. With Abdul Carter on the board, that is where they're going to be crossing their fingers on that, because if they're able to get Abdul Carter, put him across from Max Crosby, put him with Christian Wilkins, that defensive line is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And it's going to be very ugly for all the other teams in the AFC West. But I just can't see the Raiders passing up on Abdul Carter with his meteoric rise that he had in this college football season. I just love Abdul Carter going to the Raiders, and especially being in Raiders colors, that would be sick. And the New York Jets, who probably were hoping for QB to be a scenario for them, but as of right now, that's not going to be the situation. Again, we're going to go best player available. I think Will Johnson for the Jets is the best player available, and it's great for me in my imagination to have all these best players off the board just going to the teams that are on there because it fits although teams like to go with the glaring needs. And I've gone with that in the past, but I'm a bit interested as to how this mock draft would fall if we go best player available instead. But at 6'2" and 200 pounds, like I've said in the past, I mean, Will Johnson would just mirror man coverage against any receiver, and putting him in the same defense as Sauce Gardner would leave a lot of potential for this Jets defense to get better and better over the years. Now, moving on to the 8th spot, the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to have them taking Jalen Walker out of Georgia. Jalen Walker is slowly making his way into the top 10 for me because he has the talent to be able to get in there. He has the ability to be an off-ball linebacker and as a rusher on the ball, and he brings a lot to a lacking Panthers defensive line that was average at best at most points this season and is able to help them move on from the Brian Burns era. He's a very talented player. I can't wait to see Jalen Walker in the proper system, and hopefully this Panthers defense is that. But I'm going to have him going at that spot for the Carolina Panthers. Also, he's listed at linebacker. He definitely plays better at the edge. But the New Orleans Saints at this spot, I can't see them going and letting Will Campbell fall farther than them. As much as tackle is not a need, I think they could still utilize Will Campbell. I went a number of different edge rushers for the Saints in these past drafts, but again, I just can't see Will Campbell falling past them. I can't. And it's a deep edge class. I think they could definitely still get a very good edge in the next round. With a new head coach, I just think Will Campbell would be the best case scenario. He has short arms, obviously, so they could just move him into guard, and it would just make that offensive line insane. I'm going to go Will Campbell. I don't see him falling to the Bears. The Saints might shock a lot of people with that pick because they have a solid offensive line. They don't really need it. But the prospect that Will Campbell has been, I think he could definitely help them on the interior, maybe even on the exterior, but I still feel like they're not going to put him at tackle with his arm length basically being his point of weakness and letting the edge rushers around just because of that arm length not being there. But the Chicago Bears are still going to go offensive tackle regardless. And I'm going to have them taking Kelvin Banks Jr. The Bears' offensive line has just not been consistent in the slightest, and Tevin Jenkins is probably on his way out soon. I think either way, whether they put Kelvin Banks Jr. at guard, whether they put him at tackle, I think it's the best case scenario regardless, just because of what the Bears need on that offensive side of the ball. They don't need talent in the receiver positions. They have plenty of that. Ashton Jeanty just isn't going to be going there. As much as I want that duo of Caleb Williams and Ashton Jeanty, they need to help Caleb Williams not be the most sacked quarterback in the league. And Kelvin Banks Jr. should be able to do that, whether it's on the interior or exterior. But the 49ers, who, again, I've had taking people in the trenches, but I keep getting higher and higher on James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. I've liked him a lot since the get-go. I mean, he dropped a lot in a lot of draft boards, but I don't know why I put offensive tackle. He dropped a lot in a lot of draft boards, but I like James Pierce Jr. potential to be a great edge rusher, especially in a 49ers defense that tends to go with these type of edge rushers. They don't really want insane size. They just want somebody that's going to be able to get to the QB, and James Pierce Jr. has the full capability to be able to do that. And yeah, I really think he has unreal potential, and getting him on this 49ers team should help them move on with the future that they need to, with Leonard Floyd hopefully being on the way out and James Pierce filling that spot in. But with the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, I know you guys are getting tired of the same pick, and honestly, so am I. But there's just no other route that the Cowboys are going to go. If they do, I don't know what type of bet I have to put down for Ashton Jeanty to not be going to the Cowboys, but I seriously cannot see any other team taking Ashton Jeanty, barring, of course, other teams getting Ashton Jeanty before the Cowboys. I do not see the Cowboys passing up on him. I mean, it just fits, especially with a new head coach, possibly because Mike McCarthy did not sign a new contract with the Cowboys. And Ashton Jeanty will just bring an immediate impact to this team. And they can definitely scheme around that and utilizing him to open up space for CeeDee Lamb. It would just help the Cowboys even more. I mean, he's insane. He's insane. There's not really much to say that I haven't already said about Ashton Jeanty. He has insane capabilities of breaking tackles. I don't know how he does it at most points, but I love the way that he plays. Unfortunately, I would have to see him in a Cowboys uniform, but I'm going to be watching Ashton Jeanty every week just because of that big playability that he has. But with the Miami Dolphins, obviously, I'm going to go offensive tackle. I don't even have to tease about it. I think Josh Simmons is going to the Dolphins regardless. I mean, again, he was one of the top tackles before he got injured. I still see it as a glaring need. Simmons is just a guarantee for this Dolphins team. Whether he goes to guard at the start or he plays tackle, wherever they put him, I feel like Josh Simmons is going to perform tremendously, and he could very well be the best tackle in this class going into the future, just because if he would have played a full season, I could see him being better than Will Campbell. And that might be crazy to say, but I like it. Josh Simmons going to the Miami Dolphins. As the Indianapolis Colts, I'm still going to have taking Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren just kept playing amazing. It was like the whole Penn State team and their top prospects just kept performing at a tremendous rate. Tyler Warren is a very clear pick for me, with him just securing his spot in the top 15. As much as I want Malachi Starks to go to the Colts, as I continue to mention, I just can't see Tyler Warren not going there. He's 6'6". He has insane size. He has a great amount of speed. He's the ideal tight end for any team that needs a tight end. I can't imagine Tyler falling past the Colts. It's just, I don't know. He's something else. He's definitely something else. We don't come across a lot of tight ends that are the type of tight end that Tyler Warren is. I would say he's almost like a George Kittle, but they're not going to pass up on Tyler Warren, even with Malachi Starks on the board. But talking about Malachi Starks, I am going to have him going to the Atlanta Falcons. With Justin Simmons being a free agent this year, there's no guarantee that he comes back. With the way that the Falcons have played in these past couple years, thinking that they're going to make the playoffs, thinking that they're going to be the best team in the NFC South, and they continue to just not be. Even if he does come back, I think the best case scenario for the Falcons, if James Pierce Jr. is off the board, is Malachi Starks going to Atlanta. He has amazing talent, and I think he's honestly a top 5 prospect for me on my personal big board, just because of his ability to make a play on the ball no matter what and to lead a defense. I love the way that he plays at Georgia. I think he can take that into the NFL, and he would go higher if safety was a more valued position. But the Arizona Cardinals, I am going to have taking defensive interior, but it's actually going to be Derek Harmon out of Oregon. And he played tremendous on an Oregon line that needed him to step up in many different scenarios, but he has the ability to play in different schemes like 3-tech and 5-tech, and is much of an interior powerhouse that Walter Nolan is, that I've been preaching about for the past couple drafts. I think that teams like to go with the specific players that are on teams that win. And Oregon were very good up until the CFB, and really got screwed, to be honest. They got screwed with the way it was all set up. Hopefully they fix that in the following CFB playoffs. But Derek Harmon just seems like what the Cardinals need on the inside. And the Cincinnati Bengals, I am still going to have taking Luther Burden III out of Mizzou. I think with T. Higgins, he just keeps seeming like he's not going to be a Bengal next year. With the amount of offers that he's going to get, with the amount of pitches that he's going to get, I could see him getting swayed another way. And Luther Burden could easily fill that spot up for the Bengals, and they would not have to worry about T. Higgins being gone. Oh, it's a weakness. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Luther Burden has the talent. He has the capability to fill that spot immediately in his rookie year, and playing alongside Jamar Chase, it's just going to help him grow his confidence, grow his self-esteem, grow his skill set, because he's going to be getting the ball just as much as Jamar Chase probably is, because of the way that they go to the pass frequently and love making big plays. But the Seattle Seahawks at the 18th spot, I am going to have taking an edge rusher, but it is not Nick Scorton. It is going to be Shedeur Stewart. Shedeur Stewart out of Texas A&M has a rare combination of size, speed, and power at 6'6" and 290. I don't think the Seahawks are going to be looking at him and looking at Boye Mafe and saying that we're good with Boye Mafe. I think they need a little bit more. And I think he can be a great addition for the Seattle Seahawks, as the Denver Broncos are here, and after getting absolutely beat down in the second half by the Buffalo Bills, when a lot of sports media was trying to say that the Broncos were going to be the upset team of the week, I think that they need to go tight end. It just showed it even more in this game, that they need to have somebody that's going to be that for sure, either check down or short pass, or the QB's reliable guy. And as much as Courtland Sutton is that on a normal play, when the pocket is breaking down, Courtland Sutton is hardly anywhere to be found, and he started to get a little bit of traction in that. But tight ends are known to be that. And Colson Loveland should be able to be that type of guy for Bo Nix going into the future. I just can't see it being much clearer of a pick than Colson Loveland going to the Denver Broncos. And the next pick on the board is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the 20th spot. And, I mean, Nick Scorton, he's varied from either being in my top 10 in the draft or the top 20. But he has, it really depends how the scouts see Nick Scorton and Shedeur Stewart, and who is the clear number one to them on that team, and who do they really want to join their team. But Nick Scorton has a very deep pass rush tool bag with tons of different moves at 6'4" and 280. And really any D-line could use the type of player that Nick Scorton is. And the way that we saw that the Bucs were unable to get to Jaden Daniels was just shining, glaring need for the Bucs to go edge. With the way that they also missed the tackle, and I think it was Kalijah Cansey that missed that tackle to stop Jaden Daniels from getting that crucial first down. Nick Scorton needs to come in and make a difference on that Tampa Bay Bucs defensive line. As the Steelers, I'm going to have Benjamin Morrison still going to the Steelers. I want Emeka Egbuka going there just because of their glaring need at wide receiver with the way that they played against the Ravens, and basically George Pickens just being locked down and not having anybody else to go to. I still like Benjamin Morrison a lot, and I think this wide receiver class is fine enough to be able to get one in the second round. Both Texas receivers did declare for the draft, so Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, Xavier Restrepo can be a very solid pick in the second round. I love that for the Steelers if they're able to get Restrepo. But Benjamin Morrison, I think, is the best case scenario for the Steelers defense. A fearless man coverage corner, it's what they need. It's really what they need to complement Joey Porter Jr. to continue to make that defense, that Steelers defense, as scary as it's always been, and just utilize it to the best of their abilities. As the LA Rams, who, I mean, at this spot, the draft order is wrong. The Chargers and the Packers should be above the Rams because the Rams won against the Vikings. I guess PFF just hasn't upgraded it yet since last night. But I'm still going to take a player for the Chargers that I don't think either of these teams would go with. I'm still going to go with Wyatt Millum. I like Wyatt Millum as a fit for the Rams and that offensive line. The defense played tremendously. I don't think that they're going to need that necessarily. The only other way that I could see it going is definitely corner. Corner could be something of utilization, but that's also a pick that they could look for Azarai Thomas in the following rounds. I love Azarai Thomas. But as of right now, I'm going to go Wyatt Millum. Wyatt Millum is the best case scenario for this Rams defense or Rams offensive line that needs a tackle right now. That's going to be tremendous on both the run blocking and the pass protecting. These two are more of a chance. Wyatt Millum should be more of a for sure pick out of West Virginia for the Rams and their future, whether it's with Matthew Stafford or another QB. I don't think they're going to go to another QB until Matthew Stafford's wheels fall off. But the Chargers, who have seen both tight ends come off the board, with Ohio State continuing to be a powerhouse right now, Jack Sawyer is not going to another team but the Chargers. Jack Sawyer made insane plays against Texas for them to win. The scoop and score fumble, I think, is exactly what Harbaugh wants to have on his team, with either Mac being replaced because he's old or Bosa being replaced because he just can't stay healthy. Jack Sawyer will fill in either spot tremendously because he has a tenacity, he has the will to get to the QB, get to the ball, do what he needs to do to make a big play. And if he continues to have that going to the Chargers, I think they would be able to utilize him tremendously. It seems like he really turns it on in the playoffs, so that could be a whole different asset that they could use, especially in these latter years of Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa still being there. They can utilize Jack Sawyer, come in, just use all his energy to pass rush, and he's able to get that fumble 9 times out of 10. But the Green Bay Packers at the 24 spot have rumors of possibly dropping Jair Alexander. I still don't think that they're actually going to do that. That just seems, I don't know. I know that he gets injured frequently. I know that he gets paid a significant sum of money. But the Green Bay corners just did not perform at all against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm going to have Siobhan Revel going there. The Packers just seem like the team that need to have that high upside type of corner. And Siobhan Revel is really the guy that has the highest upside out of these four that I would pick. I like Siobhan Revel a lot. I really do. And the Packers secondary just needs that type of guy. Whether they keep Jair Alexander or not, Siobhan Revel should be a great fit for this team. With the Houston Texans at the 25th spot, I am going to have them going tackle, but it's going to be the tackle out of Missouri that I still cannot figure out how to say his name properly, so I'm not going to fuck it up right now. But I do like him a lot. And whether it's him being on the inside or a tackle, he is a bit undersized. He's 6'3", but his arm length keeps him at tackle in most scenarios. And it could keep Titus Howard on the inside, who was playing right tackle. I like him staying at that right tackle position. I think he could be tremendous with a Texans offensive line that needs to be a little bit more formidable going into the future. It was a glaring weakness in this regular season, although they did beat the Chargers. I think he could bring a lot. Even with the undersized height, his length in the arms should be able to hold them down. I just can't see him moving inside, so I definitely would take him if you're anticipating him going to right tackle and Titus Howard going to the inside. But the Washington Commanders, I am also going to have taking a tackle. And it's more because I'm looking at the future for the Commanders. It's going to be a need going into the future. Josh Connerly Jr. out of Oregon is a very solid pickup for this Washington Commanders team. And I've had them going edge or defensive interior, but I think that they would definitely want to continue this build around Jaden Daniels on the offensive side, and they'll worry about defense, whether in free agency or in the later parts of this draft. But Josh Connerly Jr. should be able to develop very well behind that offensive line, and it leaves the Chiefs in a pretty rough spot at the end of this round, but we'll get to them when we get to them. The Baltimore Ravens, I am going to have taking a corner, and it is Darian Porter once again. I'm sorry, but every time that I don't take Darian Porter for the Baltimore Ravens, I just don't like it. I don't like it. I'm going to stick by Porter's side with this. Him in coverage would help this Ravens team so much. Yes, his run defense sucks. It really does. But him in coverage with his size, with his ability, with his athleticism, I just really can't see Darian Porter going to any other team but the Baltimore Ravens. And although Jahdae Barron could be a pick here, I think they really need to contrast that Nate Wiggins pick that they had last year, with Nate Wiggins being a bit undersized, underweight, all that type of stuff. They need to have that guy that's 6'4" and a unit in Darian Porter out of Iowa State. I love him going to the Baltimore Ravens. I just can't see it happening any other way. And the Minnesota Vikings at the 28th spot, I'm also going to have going corner. And it is going to be Trey Amos. I think this is a pick that is more of a safe pick. Their cornerback room can experience a lot of loss in terms of free agency going into the offseason, especially with the way that they lost. But Trey Amos is to complement Byron Murphy. He had, I think, 14 incompletions, if I'm not mistaken, or forced 14 incompletions, which is 7th most in the FBS. I like him enough for the Vikings to get him if Siobhan Revel is off the board. Jahdae Barron, I mean, some teams just don't like his ability to go to different positions. They just need their guy that has played corner all of his career, basically, and Trey Amos has done that and could help this Vikings team a lot. But the Bills are not the type to be scared about those type of players that have played in many different positions. I love the Jahdae Barron pick for the Buffalo Bills with the uncertainty of Rasul Douglas and his future with the Bills. He has performed big at multiple different positions. He recorded 5 interceptions and 10 forced incompletions this season, and really performed until the very last snap for the Longhorns this playoffs. I love him going to the Bills. I think it has a lot of potential to be a very good pick for that Bills defense, who have a good cornerback room, but bringing a rookie like that who can bring just pure talent should only help them. As the Philadelphia Eagles at the 30th spot, whoop-de-doo. They go with a Bulldog once again, but Mykel Williams, I just can't see him falling past the Eagles or the first round. But the Eagles specifically, this is like a Nolan Smith coming out of the draft type of pick, with his physicals, with his athleticism, with all that stuff. But I think Mykel Williams has a bit more of a for sure skill set, with him being an elite run defender. He's still developing as a pass rusher and needs to get a little bit deeper in his bag with that, but he has a high floor, unlike Nolan Smith, who had a low floor, high ceiling. I like Mykel Williams and having him as a for sure run defender in schemes for the Philadelphia Eagles. As the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm still going to continue taking a tackle. And that tackle is going to be Grace Abel. It's not going to be Cameron Williams. Cameron Williams is going to play right tackle. I can't see him just moving to the left tackle. I think the Chiefs are fine with Jawan Taylor at right tackle. They need to try to hit on something for left tackle. And Grace Abel might do that. Out of North Dakota State, he's good. He's very good. But the conference that he's in just makes it a very hesitant pick for any other team but the Chiefs. But the Chiefs really have no other scenario that they can go with but Gray Zabel at the left tackle position, because you cannot have Tooney playing left tackle at the start of next season. I'm sorry. That just can't happen. I'm so sorry. But the interior of the Kansas City Chiefs line is infamous, and not having Joe Thuney on the inside is just criminal. As the Detroit Lions, I am going to have taking Mike Green. I'm not seeing Mike Green falling out of the first round. I like Mike Green a lot. I think that he is a very young pass rusher, and he has a good bag of moves and just has an elite first step that teams would be looking at. And I think the Lions just need that depth at edge rusher, especially with the way that we saw them fall apart at that position in this entire season. Mike Green could bring a lot. He could bring a lot. I like a lot of these guys. I like Princely. I just like Mike Green a little bit more going to the Detroit Lions. And that is going to do it for this mock draft. And I mean, the change-ups that we had was more of best player available in the top 15. Abdul Carter going to the Raiders. It's something that you guys really wanted. I had a lot of conversations about Abdul Carter falling past the Raiders. Will Johnson going to the Jets. Jalen Walker going to the Panthers. I think that's more of a fit. Will Campbell not falling past the Saints, although the Saints might just need edge more than anything. Will Campbell just has a tremendous amount of talent as an offensive lineman. Kelvin Banks going to the Bears, I think, is something of a for sure, whether it's just offensive line in general. James Pierce Jr. going at the 11th spot is definitely higher than I've had him in really the past like 6 mock drafts. And we're starting to get some more secured picks with the Dolphins, with the Colts, with the Cowboys. This 3 picks right here is basically locking themselves in. I wouldn't even say these are locked in because of the possibility of the Titans trading out. I'm just excited to be able to trade and to talk about different teams being at the number 1 position, because I think that brings a lot more to what this mock draft can be. But Nick Scorton falling to the Bucks, also a great fit for them. Texas A&M players going 2 picks apart. Luther Burden going to the Bengals should already be set in place. If T. Higgins is on his way out, that should just be a locked-in situation. Membo, I don't know how to say his last name. I don't know how to say his name in general. I just know that he's a very good tackle out of Mizzou. Yeah, I'm very confident with that. I think I'm going to be a little bit more confident going into the conference championship and the end of the college football season next week. I'm excited for that one. If you did enjoy that, go down there and like so more people can see it. While you're down there, let me know what you think about this mock draft. Let me know what you think about your specific team. More than happy to talk about it. I love talking about the draft with you guys. I love having those conversations and just debating. It's fun to debate these things because we don't know what's really going to happen until it happens. And that's the beautiful thing about the NFL draft. But while you're down there, subscribe so you can watch the rest of these mock drafts as we get into more of the draft season and we get into being able to trade and see different outcomes. I might try to change up these outcomes so it's not just the same thing every video. I want to be able to do like, what if Travis Hunter goes number 1? And then we go from there. Or what if the QBs don't go in the top 5? Then we go from there. It would be fun. I think it would bring a different type of look to the mock draft. Just let me know what you think down in the comments below. But I'll see you in the next video. Peace.